Hello everyone. Um, can you just let me know if my voice is clear and my screen is visible? Okay, yes. Okay, hello everyone. I hope you all are doing great. Okay, great. Nice. Okay, so in today's lecture, again, we are going to go and have some TCS NQT coding questions, right? And today we will be solving questions based on arrays and string. Majorly, there will be array related questions. And I'm trying to cover almost wide range of questions. Like it could be easy, it could be medium, it could be anything from like me easy to medium. So you'll be having good number of questions today, and you will be getting nice questions like what type of questions are asked, story based questions and everything, right? So I guess let's start then. Let's not delay now. Okay, so the very first question that you can see on the screen is maximum and minimum digit in a number, right? So we have already seen those questions, or we already know these questions. Like if you have an array and if you need to find the minimum and maximum, so that is a pretty good easy like question, so it is not that hard. But here we have is what you have to find maximum and minimum digit in a number, right? So you will be given a number and you have to find maximum and minimum digit. Now let's see what the problem statement says. So according to problem statement, given an array integer given an integer n, so you will be given an integer n and you have to find and print smallest digit and largest digit present in the number. Correct? Now, what is the input format? In input format, you will be given with only one single integer, let's say n. And in output, you have to do what? You have to print two numbers separated by space, and it should be in the order first minimum digit, then you will be having a space, and then you will be having maximum digit, right? So this is how you have to get the output. Now as the constraint, it is given that the number could be anything between from like 1 to 10 raised to the power 9. So it can be even a number with single digit, or it can be a number with larger digits, right, up to 10 raised to the power 9. So now let's go to the sample input. So in sample input 1, you can see there is one number given to us, that is 2746, right? So this is a whole number. Now what we need to do is we need to find which digit is maximum and which digit is minimum, right? So if you see, digits in the numbers are 2 7 4 and 6. There are 4 digits. Now out of all of these, 2 is the smallest digit. So when you will be printing your output, first minimum number should come, right? So 2 is getting printed, and then 7 is the largest digit, and that is why giving a space after that 7 is getting printed, right? So this is how the sample input and input and output one looks like. Now same, if you have similar kind of input where you have much larger number, let's say 981203. So here 0 is the minimum digit and 9 is the maximum digit, right? So you have to print accordingly, that is 0 space and 9. Okay, so I guess the question is clear. Is there any doubt in the question or any queries related to this? Okay, so let's see what the code says, right? So as per the code, first of all, we need to take the input, right? Now, when we need to take the input of a number, we generally write it like n is equals to int input, right? So you can go with this. There is no problem in this particular statement, right? But there, if you see in my code, there I have one strip function as well. that is generally for removing all the trailing or the starting spaces or something that is present, but that is fine because this is a pure integer number, so you can, this thing is optional, right? So you can leave this part as well. You can simply write it like n is equals to int input. Fine. Now once that is done, what we have to do is we have to take two integers, like the two variables. So what it would be, it would be minimum digit and maximum digit. Now we know that if we are talking about digit, it would be single digit only, right? And what could be the maximum digit that we can go up till? That is 9, right? So what I did is, now there is one thing, that in minimum digit I put 9 and in maximum digit I put 0. Now what is the reason behind it? Because when we will be comparing and when we will be finding any number that is minimum, right? For example, if I want to find the minimum number out of this particular number, that is 2746, right? So what I'll do is, let's have some few numbers which are greater. Let's say we have 8 in here, and then we have 3 in here. Let's say this is a number, right, given to us. Now I have to find the minimum number first, let's assume. So what we have to do is, why we chosen 9 in a minimum digit? Because 9 could be possibility, but if there is any number which is less than 9, so what I'll do is I'll directly switch to that number and I'll consider that digit as a minimum digit. Now for example, I get the first letter, because we will be using that modulo and division thing to separate each and every digit every time, right? So we will be getting the numbers from the end. So what is going to happen? 6 is the first digit that we will be accessing, right? So when we have 6, I'll check, is my 6 less than minimum digit? Yes, it is. So what I'll do is I'll update the minimum digit by 6. So we can say that till now, whatever the numbers we have gone through, whatever the digits we have gone through for this number, 6 is the least number, right? Least or the minimum number. Now when I'll go ahead and I'll get 4, so again I'll check if my minimum digit, which is 6 right now, is 4 less than 6. So again, is my 4 less than 6? I'll update my minimum digit to 4. So that is why we are taking what? We are taking minimum digit as 9. So that we are assuming that, okay, the worst possibility is that minimum digit is 9. But if we get any less than that 9, we will update it accordingly. And same condition or the same thing is for max digit, right? Max digit is kept as 0 because in worst case, we can assume that max digit is 0, right? But if I get any number greater than 0, I'll directly update it. Okay, I guess this concept is clear because there could be students who can do mistake in this particular statement, right? So you have to be very careful whenever you are doing these questions. Now once you have done all the initializations, now what I'm doing is I'm starting my while loop. And I guess everyone knows why we use while loop. When we don't know how many loops will work, right, and we want that, okay, up till this something it should work, so what I'll do is I'll use while loop, right? So here we are using while loop until my number, okay, let's take n as 2746, right? So if I take n as 2746, now what it would be, I have to check all the digits until my number becomes 0, right? If it is greater than 0, I have to continue the loop. And now in every loop, what I am doing is I'm using two operators. One is this modulo operator to get the digit, to access the digit, and second is this floor division. Why we are doing floor division? Because see, for example, I have already accessed this 6, right? And I have checked the things, whatever things I want to check, that whatever minimum and maximum digits I want to update, I updated it. Okay, now what I have to do is I want now that 6 should be removed because 6 is something that we have worked on. Now our number should get shortened to 274 so that I can get 4 in a next loop, right? So we are doing floor division just to remove or just to get the smaller numbers so that we can access the new digits every time, right? So let's see how the code is working. So first is digit is equals to n modulo 10. So n modulo 10 means your number is going to be divided by 10. So I guess that is very clear, that whenever you want to access any single digit, you divide it by 10, right? You modulo it by 10. If you want, in case, because there could be questions, there could be any kind of questions, and if you want 2 digits at a time to be selected, in that case what you have to do, you have to divide it or modulo it by 100, right? And same it goes, like if you want 3 digits, you have to modulo by 1000 and so on, right? So right now I want only one digit to be accessed at a moment. So what I'm doing is n modulo 10. Now n modulo 10 means 2746 divided by 10. So what you will get, you will get something like 274. Basically what will be the remainder? Remainder will be 6, right? Because you will be getting 2740 as a maximum number in the table of 10, and 6 will be the remainder, right? So what you will be getting is 6 as a digit in your first while loop, right? So let's write it over here. So in first while loop, what is going to happen? Your digit that you will be getting is 6, right? Now once you have accessed it, now you have to update the minimum and maximum digits. So minimum digit is equals to minimum of minimum digit, which is already 9, and the digit that we just got. So out of 9 and 6, which one is minimum? 6 is minimum, right? So my minimum digit, I'm writing it as min. So minimum digit will be updated to 6, right? Now what will be maximum digit? So maximum digit will be maximum of max digit and the digit that we have. So max digit is 0 and the digit that we got is 6, right? So again, which one is maximum? 6 is maximum. So maximum will be also updated with 6. Okay, now once that is done, we already used the logic for 6. Now we have to remove that. So how we are going to do that? N floor division n. So what is going to happen? This number, which is 2745, will be divided by 10. So what you will be getting is 274.6, and now because you are using floor division, so it will be returning you the floor value. So floor value is what? 274. So now in your n, you will be having 274, and this is very important, because we all know whenever you are running the while loop, whatever the condition, whatever the condition you are applying, whatever the variable you are having, you have to update it, right? If you don't update it, it is going to be stuck in that infinite loop, right? So here when we are dividing this number, we are dividing that n variable only, right? Because in the next while loop, when my second while loop is going to work, I'm going to check if my new number, that is 274, is greater than 0 or not. If it is greater than 0, we have to continue the same thing. If it becomes 0 or something like that, in that case we will stop the while loop. Okay, I hope that is clear. These few things are basic, but very you have to keep it in your mind when you're writing the code, right? Now what you have to do is, now in second while loop, let's try to run the second while loop. So in second while loop, again you will try to access the digit. Now your new num is what? Let me just write it over here. Your new number has become as 274, right? Now digit is what? So 274 modulo 10. So again you will be having like 270, that is the maximum number that you can get out of the table of 10. So 4 will be the remainder, right? So digit that you will be getting is 4. Now again what you have to do is update the minimum digit and the maximum digit. So again, if you see, minimum digit will be what? The current digit, the minimum of what? The minimum of 2 digits. The current digit, that is 4, and the digit that you already have, that is 6. So 4 is smaller, so we will update the minimum digit as 4, right? Now what will be the maximum digit? Maximum digit, previous one is 6 and now we are getting it as 4. So maximum is 6, so it will remain 6 only. There will be no further changes. Now once that is done, again we have to update the number. So again we have 274 it will be divided by 10. So you will be getting something like 27.4, and again because you are talking about the floor division, so it will be giving you 27. So now your new number will be n is equals to 27. Now once that is done, we have to move to the third loop. Let me change the color. Yes. Now let's move on to the third loop. Now we have third while loop running over here. So again, I have to access the digit. So digit will be what? N modulo 10. So n is 27. When you will divide it, get the remainder, you will get 7, right? Now again, you have to find the minimum and the maximum. So minimum, if you see, the previous value was 4, right? And the current digit is 7. So 4 is minimum. So you will be having 4 here as well, 4 only here, right? Now once that is done, you have max. So max is what? Max is 6 earlier and now you're getting 7. So obviously 7 is greater. So you will be having 7 in this max. Now once that is done, you have to update the value of n. So again, dividing this 27 by 10, you will get something like 2.7. And when you will try to get the floor division, you will get n is equals to 2. Now once that is done, you have to move to the fourth loop. Now again, is my n greater than 2? Yes, it is greater than 2. So what you have to do, again, you will try to access the digit. So in fourth loop, again, you will try to access the digit. So once you will again divide it by 10. So what you will be getting, if you try to divide any smaller number by a larger number, remainder will be always that smaller numerator only, right? So it will be 2 only. So it will be 2. Now once that is done, again you have to find minimum. Previous minimum was 4, now you are having 2, so obviously 2 will be considered. And maximum, previously it was 7 and now you are having 2, so 7 will remain as it is. Now once that is done, again you have to update your n's. Again, when you will dividing this 2, you will be dividing this 2 by 10, you will be getting something like 0.2. Now if you try to find the floor division of it, it will be sorry, the floor value of it will be 0, right? So n is equals to 0. So now my n becomes 0. Now fifth loop, again my while loop will try to run, but is the condition matching? Is my n greater than 0? No, it is not. So now everything will stop. You'll come out here, and what you are printing, you're printing minimum digit comma maximum digit, and this comma between the two variables will automatically give you a space. So the output, the format that you want is minimum digit, then space, and then maximum digit. So you will be getting minimum digit first of all printed. So minimum digit is what? 2 that we are getting. So 2 will get printed, then space will come there, and then maximum digit, that is 7, will be printed. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, see, one student has asked me if the number is in negatives. See, constant is already given to you that in this particular question, there is no negative numbers will be taken. All the numbers will be ranging from 1 to 10 raised to the power 9, right? And for example, if you're getting any negative digit, so what you can do is you can again extract. See, negative digits are like, again, you can simply you have to extract the numbers, right? So you can do the same thing and you will be getting the digits, and once you are getting the digits, you can like update your minimum and the maximum digits. Second query is that if we take a number something like 054, what was that, 054329. If this is a kind of number, so what is going to happen? See, again, what you have to do is you have to just find the minimum and the maximum. You have to simply do the same loop. So every time you will be accessing each and every element, and once you're done with the whole while loop, all the while loops are done and your number becomes 0, what is going to happen? It will automatically give you the values 0 and 9. If you see this kind of question, right? So I guess there will be no problem in any of the numbers, because once you have those digits, then you have to you will able to access, like if you have excess of the digits, then you will be able to apply the logic. I guess that is clear. Is there any doubts? Okay, I guess that is clear. Let's move ahead to the next question. So the next question is chat moderation system, right? Now this, let's try to understand. This is a kind of story based question that I have kept. So the problem statement is that a chat platform wants to detect a spam, right? If a message contains 3 consecutive identical characters, it is considered spam. So they have already given you the rule that whenever there in a message, you will be seeing any 3 identical characters consecutively appearing, that particular message is going to be considered as spam, right? So you will be given a message string. You have to determine whether it is spam or safe. um I mean, okay, there is one doubt. In a number, because they are asking you for minimum and maximum digit in a number, na? So how it could be ABCD? Okay, so now this is done. Now you have, now let's see what is input format. So in input format, you have a single string S. So you will be given with a single string S. In the output, you have to simply print either it is spam or safe. Okay, I guess the question is clear. So for example, you have some message something like this where you have hey and y is repeating for three multiple times, right? Like three consecutive times. So again, because according to the rule, if any of the letter is occurring from three consecutive times, say there could be variations in these type of questions. They can give you something like if any character is repeating for three or more than three consecutive times, that could be also spam, right? So we will be seeing that how in the code you can make small variations and you will be having another kind of condition, right? So because right now here we have three consecutive characters, so it means this is a spam message and we have to print spam. If there is nothing something like this, you have to simply print safe. Okay, now let's see how the question comes, how the code comes. So again, we have to first take the input, and now I'll prefer that you use the strip function, because in string, using strip function is kind of you're keeping yourself on the safer side, right? So s is equals to input dot strip. Once you have this, so you will be having one string. Let's consider this only, that is, for example, you have hey as a string, right? Now you started with count is equals to 1, right? Now once that is done, we have to start with for loop, because obviously we need to have, like, we have to traverse inside my string, right? Now once that is done, for I in range 1 comma len of s, right? So we are going to have till length of s right now is 5, right? So it would be something like 1 to 5. Okay, now why we are taking here from 1 to 5, um why we are taking the count is equals to 1. So the first is why we are taking count is equals to 1, because if something is occurring for one time and we have to just check if it is occurring for two more other times, means we have to just focus on that, na, that it should not appear for three times. If it is occurring consecutively for three times, then that is the problem. So that is why we are initializing count is equals to 1, that every time at least one alphabet is going to occur at least one time, right? If it is present in a string, right? So that is why we are taking count is equals to 1. And why we are starting the range from 1 to len of s, because when we will be comparing the first character and the previous character, right? So when we will be starting with the first loop, we will be starting with e and we will be comparing it with h. If e and h, for example, are same, it means we have to increase our count, right? This is how the logic is working. So for I in range 1 to len of s, which is 1 comma 5, which will make it run from 1 to 4. So let's have my first loop for I is equals to 1. Now if s of I is equals to s of I minus 1, right? So if you have anything, any condition, if you have letter which is current letter and the previous letter, if both of them are same, so right now my current letter is what, e, and my previous letter is what, h. Are they both same? No, they are not, right? So it means there is no consecutiveness and we can move ahead, right? Now there is nothing else we can do, because okay, now we have else condition. So in else condition, we have count is equals to 1, just in case if we have initial, like if we have incremented the value of count earlier in the if condition. Now if new value, if new character occurs, we have to again make it 1, so it remains clean, right? So it is like that. Now once that is done, again we have to go to the next for loop. So in next for loop, you have I is equals to 2, right? Now for I is equals to 2, again s of I, which is y, right? And the previous value is what, e. So once we have that, the condition makes it false, right? Now because the condition is false, what you have to do, again nothing, you'll go in else and you will have your count is equals to 1. So it is already 1, so no need to change anything else. I'm putting my variable over here. Now again we have to move to the third loop. In third loop, you have I is equals to 3, right? Now again what you have is, you have this y, we are on this y currently, right? So y is equals to the previous value, which is also y. So are these same? Yes, these are same. So it means there is the repeating element, means there are two characters that are coming together for two times, right? At least for now. So what we have to do is, because the condition is true, we have to increment our count. So count was already 1 earlier, because we are assuming that okay, 1 y is already present if it is in the string. But if second is coming, if this kind of condition is matching, it means two times it is occurring. So we have to make it 2. Now once that is done, we have to check regularly if my count has become 3. So if it has become 3, we have to simply print spam and we can break the loop, right? And if it is not 3, we can continue, right? Because that is fine. Now there could be variations if they are ask you, if the question says that spam message are considered as to be if there are 3 or more than 3 consecutive characters appearing. So in that case, instead of just equals to, you will have greater than equals to. Okay, so just the operators will change. This is the inner condition there where we are checking the value for count. There only you have to make the variations, else everything will remain similar, right? Now once that is done, so again in this case my count is not equals to 3, so this condition becomes false, and because this condition becomes false, we'll come out and we'll move to the next for loop. Now in next for loop, again what we have to do is I is equals to 4. Now for I is equals to 4 is my what is my current digit, that is this one, so which is y, and what is my previous character, which is also y. So because the condition is true, again what you have to do is you have to go inside this, you have to increment the value of count, so count will now become 3. And now again when you will be checking if my count is equals to 3, yes it is equals to 3. And what will happen now? Now because this condition is true, you will say that this particular message is a spam message, and then you will simply break. Breaking is very important, because if you will not break and if there are any further characters after this hey, right, so it will keep counting those, right? So you have to be very careful that whenever you want to stop your program in between, once you get your first answer, you have to use the break statement if you are using for loop, and if you are in a function, you have to use the return statement, right? Now once this is done, because this was a spam message and here we got it already, so spam will get printed right in your output screen, and you will break the loop, so obviously you'll come out of the whole thing, right? Now if you see, I have already told this particular thing in the previous lecture when we have the previous live session. So if you see, there is one else which is outside this for loop. So this else is also known as looping else condition or looping else statement. So when will this run? This will only run when your for loop will stop. There will be no output from for loop. So then this else condition will say, consider itself as the main thing, and it will print safe. So for example, let's assume if you have a character, if you have a string something like this, where you have two y's, one h and one e, right? So in this case, what is going to happen? If you see, everything is going to run and there will be no spam printing, right? So what you have to do is, the whole for loop will work and no output you will get on the screen. Once you will get out of the whole for loop, means the whole string is traversed, you will come to this else condition automatically and you will print safe. So in that case, in for this particular string, you will be having safe. Now there is one string that someone has gave. If you have something like this, so again if you see, there is this a spam or not? Is this spam or safe? You only tell me. Are there any characters that are repeating for 3 times consecutively? No, it is not repeating, right? So what you have to do is, whenever you will be running this, when you will be traversing through this particular string, you will be never getting count as 3, right? So because you will be never getting count as 3, you will be never getting print spam. So again, after the whole traversal is done, you will come out of the condition, you will come out of the whole loop and you will get print safe. Okay, right? Okay, is there any doubts? Is there any questions related to this question, or shall we move ahead? Okay. um Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, now next question is again a story based question, and this question is a bit something where you have to try to understand what the question is saying, right? So I want all of yours focus over here, right? So the question name is chocolate distribution problem, and the problem statement is a teacher has n packets of chocolates. Okay, so a teacher is there, and she's having got n packets of chocolates, each containing some number of chocolates. So you have n number of chocolates. Let's assume it has like 0, 1, 2, 3, and up till n packets she has. Now, in each packet, each containing some number of chocolates. So, in each packet, there could be some number of chocolates, let's say 2, let's say 3, let's say 1, let's say 7. It could be any number of chocolates in that particular packet. Now, once that is done, okay, now she wants to do what? She wants to distribute these packets among M students. Okay, so all of these packets should be distributed among M students such that each student receives exactly one packet. Okay, so for example, if there are three students, right, so I have to distribute three packets among all of them, means every student is going to get exactly one packet, right? So out of n packets, I have to distribute three packets if there are three students. Now, what is the goal? The goal is to minimize the difference between the maximum and the minimum chocolates received by the students. Now, if you try to understand, if you'll try to relate it with the same thing that you have given with earlier, you will get confused. Instead, what you do is you understood the situation. What the situation is, you will be given with n packets of chocolates, and each packet is going to have some number of chocolates, and you have to distribute to m students such that each student get exactly one packet. So that is your situation. Okay, now let's see what they are asking you to do, right? So the goal is to minimize the difference between the maximum and the minimum chocolates received by the students. Okay, now let's try to understand this. We are taking an example. Let's assume we have three students, and we have to give each like one packet to all three of them, right? So let's have few numbers, right? We are just trying to understand that what is our goal. So there is one student that so there are three students. So first student got one packet, and in that packet that particular student received seven chocolates, right? Now, after that, the second student got one packet where that student got four chocolates in that particular packet. And there is one student who got, let's say, one packet with, let's say, two chocolates in it, right? So, what you have to do is your main goal is to minimize the difference between maximum and minimum chocolates received by the student. So, minimum chocolate is what received by the student, that is 2, and maximum chocolate received by a student is what? 7. Now, you have to give the packets accordingly so that you can get the minimum difference between the maximum and the minimum number of chocolates. So right now, if you see, 7 minus 2 is 5, right? So there is a difference. What is the difference between the minimum and the maximum number of chocolates? That is 5. So you have to give them give them the packets in such a way that they get the minimum difference. The minimum and the maximum number, if I subtract them both, the difference should be minimum, right? Just let me know if you understood a question a little bit. When we will be doing sample input, I guess that in that case you will be much clear with the question, but if you get the bit of it, that is fine. Okay, now once that is done, first line, so there will be three lines of input given to you. First line will be containing integer n, that represents the number of packets. Second line will have the n space separated integer, so you will be having an array where there will be n packets, right? And for each, the number will be given which represents the number of chocolates, right? And the third line is integer m, which represents the number of students, right? What you have to print? You have to print the minimum difference. So what you have to print? You have to print the difference, the minimum difference that you can make. Okay, now let's move on to sample input, so I'll be able to explain you much better. So if you see the very first line, you have n. So n is equals to 7. It means there are 7 packets. So what you can assume is that there is an array which will be having 7 elements, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So this is the number of packets. Now the array that you're getting, the number represents that in first packet you have 7 chocolates, in second packet you have 3 chocolates, in third packet you have 2 chocolates, in fourth packet you have 4 chocolates, in fifth packet you have 9 chocolates, in sixth packet you have 12 chocolates, and seventh packet you have 56 chocolates. Okay, so this is how the question means, right? Now once that is done, now m is given to you as 3, means you have only 3 students and you have to distribute these packets to 3 students. So every student will get one packet. Now see, there could be multiple possibilities, right? So you have student 1, you have student 2, you have student 3, right? You have this. Now what you have to do is you have to distribute all of these to in such a way that the minimum and the maximum should have the minimum difference, right? You have to minimize the difference. So let's assume, because we have 3 students, it means 3 packets I have to choose. So let's have the first three packets, that is 7, 3 and 2. So what I'll assume is that in the first go, it's just doing calculations right now. So first student gets 7, then second student get 3, and the third student got 2, right? So if I get the minimum, if I get the difference of the minimum and the maximum number, so maximum is 7 and minimum is 2. So 7 minus 2 is what? 5. So here the difference that we are getting is 5. Okay. Now what we have to do is, now let's move on to the second combination. So we have 3, 2, 4. This is my second combination that I can give to them. So we have 3, 2 and 4. Now again, what is the maximum number? 4. What is the minimum number? 2. So 4 minus 2 is what? It's 2, right? So difference here we got is 2. Now third point is what? In third case, we can give it as like 2, 4 and 9, right? So this is how we can give. Now if we give something like this, so we have 2, 4, 9. So again, when we check the minimum and the maximum number, so it's 9 and 2. 9 minus 2 is what? 7. So the difference is 7. Same, we have to go with fourth and fifth time as well. So it will be, we have taken 2, 4, 9, no? So now we'll take 4, 9, 7. Sorry, 4, 9, 12. So 4, 9, 12. The difference would be what? 12 minus 4, which is 8. Now next combination could be possible is 9, 12 and 56. So 9, 12 and 56, right? Now again, if I subtract, so 56 and 9. 56 minus 9 is what? It's 47. 56 minus 9 and makes it 47, right? So now you have this list, you can assume that you have this list of differences. Okay, so you have 5, you have 2, you have 7, you have 8, and you have 47. Now what you have to do is you have to print the minimum difference. So you have to focus on what is the least difference you are getting. So the least difference you're getting is in this particular combination, where you are getting difference as 2. So it means if you give all of the 3 students the packets of 3, 2 and 4, or you can say 2, 3 and 4, in that case the difference between the number of chocolates between the minimum and the maximum ones will be like the least, right? So in that case, what will be the output? The output will be 2. I guess now the question is clear. Just let me know, because this question is a bit kind of tricky to understand. Once you understand it, it will be very easy to implement. Just let me know if question is clear quickly. Okay, and one more thing which I want to add is, can anyone tell me what approach we are applying here? Is there anyone who can tell me what approach we can apply? Brute force is fine. You can tell me the brute force approach as well, and if you know any optimal approach, or at least the concept or any kind of thing, you can just let me know. Okay, few students are saying for two pointer approach, but okay, let's try to understand. Two pointer approach would be like, I don't think so. It will be a good approach because here you are not working on only two things, right? You want it to be on the whole range. Like for example, if the students are three, so in that case you should be working on three of the packets. If the student is five, you have to work on five of the packets. So yes, many of the students are saying sliding window, and that is what the correct answer is. We will be applying this sliding window approach over here. And in sliding window there are two types of concepts: variable sliding window, this where the size of the window is not fixed, it can be variable, means you can shrink it, you can expand it. And the second type is what? Fixed variable, fixed window size, which is fixed sliding window. So here we will be using fixed sliding window because we only want, if there are three students, we only want the window size to be three, right? So we will be using that. Okay, yes, we have to check the combinations, and combinations we are going to create it by using the window. Okay. Okay, let's see how the code is working, right? So first we need to take all the inputs. So you have n is equals to int input, right? Then you have array is equals to list map int input dot split, and then you have m is equals to int input, right? Simple inputs are very simple here. No, right now because there is nothing given, like they haven't told us that whether the packets will be in sequential or random. So that is why what we are considering is, we are considering that all of them needs to be shared in a sequential way. Okay, if they mention something like this, in that case you can do it. And still, if you feel that there is no mentioning, then you have to take the help of, like for example in this question there is no mention of sequential or random. Also, if you see there is if you also don't know that what type of thing is happening, so you can take the help of sample input and output. That will help you to understand whether they are taking the um, sequential difference or the random ones. Okay, so that is how you can do it. Okay, now once that is done, what is the best way to do is, you do array dot sort. So once you do array dot sort, so what you have to do is, what is going to happen, when you sort all the things, you get all the numbers from minimum to maximum, right? So what you will be having, you will be having the minimum number was 2, right? Yeah, it was 2 3 4, then 7 9 12 56. So 2 3 4 7 9 12 and 56. So once you get this, now it will be very easy for you, because when it was random, right, when it was random over here, there could be a possibility that you don't get the packets perfectly, right? So once you do that, yeah, we are doing random here, right? Okay, I guess I answered the questions for the students because there were many answer questions for these, right? So yes, we are doing randomly. Now how we are doing it, now try to understand why we sorted this particular array. Now once we sorted it, now if I take the window size of this particular thing where we have 2 3 and 4, obviously what we are doing is, whenever we are taking these combinations, that is 2 3 4, it will be giving you the least difference, right? Now for example, let's assume if you don't sort, and if you have 2 9 and 56. Now try to understand, if you take this particular combination, obviously this is going to give you the maximum or the very high difference, right? So that is not a point. So that is why what we are doing is, we are sorting it so that we can get the smaller numbers, like all the numbers will be nearby, right? So we are not going to compare 2 with 56 because that is obviously not gonna work. Instead, if we make the 2 work with 3 and 4, that will be much easier and better, right? Because that is towards going the solution, right? If we do that, so that is why what we are doing is, we are sorting that array. So array dot sort will sort your array and will make it something like this. Now once that is done, what you are doing is, you create getting one variable, that is minimum difference, which you are taking it as float infinity, right? And I have already told you that whenever we have these type of questions, we try to take the maximum number in minimum one, and in minimum value in the maximum one, right? So that is why if you see, what we are taking here is float of infinity, which is the maximum number possible. Now whatever the number will be less than this particular number, I will consider it as a minimum difference. Okay, now we have to simply for loop. So for I in range n minus m plus 1, now let's try to understand this, why we are doing it. Just to create that particular window size, right? To create this window size, we are writing it in this way. Okay, so what we have is n minus m plus 1. So n is what? N was 7, m is 3. So n minus m is what? It's 7 minus 3, which is 4, and 4 plus 1 is what? 5. So we are going to range for 5 times. It means there could be only 5 windows if we are traversing through this particular for loop. Sorry, traversing through this particular array using this window size of 3. There could be only 5 loops that we can do, right? And how we get this? We get this using this particular thing, that is n minus m plus 1, right? Now what you have to do is you have to make it range from 0 to 5, right? So let's have our first loop over here where n is equals to, sorry, I is equals to 0. I is equals to 0. Now once that is done, we have to find the difference. So difference is equals to r of I plus m minus 1. Now there is one more reason why we put this thing, because now once we have sorted it, we know the maximum will be always the last of the window size and minimum will always be the first of the window size, right? So we don't need to check that which one is maximum and which one is minimum, right? So that is why also the sorting things works, right? Now once that is done, for what you have to do is you have to calculate the difference. So r of I plus m minus 1. Now I is 0, 0 plus m, which is 3 minus 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2, right? So automatically you will get your answer, like pointer, the last number for the first window size will be at 2. So the value is 4. So in difference, what we will be calculating? We will be calculating 4 minus, now r of I, which is the current value. So r of I is what? 2, right? So it's 2. Difference is what? 2. Now again we have to check and update the minimum difference. So minimum difference, we will be considering minimum of the minimum difference that we have already and the difference that we got. So what we have is, we have infinity and 2. So obviously 2 is minimum. So my minimum difference will get updated by, 2. Now once that is done, we'll move to second for loop. Now in second for loop, I is equals to 1. So now what is going to happen? My window size will start with index 1, right? So how it is going to be? It is going to start from here and it will be having 3 size of it, right? Now once that is done, again what you have to do is find the difference. So finding the difference means, again I, which is 1, 1 plus m is what? M is 3. So 1 plus m is 4, 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 minus 1 is what? 3. It means we are taking this particular value. So it's 7, 7 minus current value. Now I is 1, so we are talking about this particular value, which is 3. So 7 minus 3 is what? 2, right? Sorry, my bad. 7 minus 3 is what? 4. So 7 minus 3 is 4. Again, we'll try to update the minimum value. So minimum value already is 2, and now we are getting a new number as 4. So minimum is 2. So we will be having 2 over here only. Okay. Now same thing is going to happen for loop 3, where I is equals to 2. And now my pointer will move from this to this, like 4 to 9. Okay. Now again we'll try to find the difference. So again difference is equals to, again I plus m, which is I is 2, because 2 is the starting point now for that window. So 2 plus how many students we are considering? 3. So there will be the size of 3. So 2 plus 3, which is 5, and we have to take one less because we are starting with 0 index. So 2 plus 3, 5, 5 minus 1 is 4. So value at 4th index is what? 9, right? So we'll take 9 minus, now what is the current value of I? Current value of I is 2, which means we are talking about this 4. So 9 minus 4 is 5. Again, we will try to update the minimum value, but minimum value will stay 2 only, because obviously 2 is minimum out of 2 and 5. right? Now I guess everyone have already understood how things are working. Similarly, fourth loop is going to work, and similarly fifth loop is going to work, and you will get the same kind of thing. You will be getting 8 in the next loop again, because 2 is minimum already, so 2 will be there only. Then in the fifth loop you will get 47 as the difference, but again 2 is minimum, so you will be having after the fifth loop, in minimum digit, you sorry, minimum difference, you will be having 2 stored, right? Now once you have completed your whole for loop, in the end what you're printing minimum diff, right? Just let me know if you guys understood this thing. Is there any doubt, any questions, any queries regarding this particular code or question? No, there is one question that I'm getting. Do we need to consider consecutive numbers only? No, we are not taking consecutive numbers. If you see very carefully, see for now, if you see in this particular case, we are getting 3 to 4, and what we are taking is 2, 3, 4. Although the numbers are consecutive, but if you see what we are doing is, let's assume, that you have an array something like 7, 3, 2, 9, 12, 4 and 56. Okay, if this is your array, let's assume if this is your array, so in that case also, in this case, in this array also, you will be getting same answer, that is 2, 3, 4, because they haven't said yet. I mean, in the question they haven't told you that the packets that you're distributing should be consecutive or so, right? So when once you're doing sorting, right, we are doing sorting now, so everything will be arranging by itself according to minimum, like from minimum to maximum. So you will be getting 2 first, then 3, then 4, and so on, like 7, 9, 12, and 56, right? So you will be not working on consecutive numbers. It is considered as whatever are the 3 most best packets that you can give to minimize the difference between the maximum and the minimum number of chocolates. Okay. Why you took infinity? Because see, do you remember the previous question? In previous question also I explained the same logic, that in minimum digit we have taken 9, and in maximum digit we have taken 0. Why we have done that? Because if I take minimum digit as 9, that is the worst case I'm taking, that okay, the maximum number that I can go, the maximum digit that I can get is 9. If I get any number lesser than this, I will quickly update my minimum digit. Same thing is happening here. You try to you try to think of it. For example, let's take minimum difference as 0. So you to have taken already the best case possible now, or maybe if you are taking negative infinity, you have already taken the best case. There will be no number that you will be getting which is less than negative infinity, so you'll never get your answer correctly, right? But if you'll put it as infinity, so if there would be any number which is less than infinity, you will be having that in your answer, right? So that is why we are taking in. There is one question who's asking that if see this okay, so if you're talking about the range which is n minus m plus 1, why we are taking n minus m plus 1? Because the window size that you are creating, if you will try to have your sixth loop, let's try to understand. Only 5 loops are possible when you are having this window, right? You can take the exam, take the look over here, because there is a tabular format, so it will be easy to understand. So you see that these are the only 5 loops that are possible when you're taking the window size as 3 in this particular array, right? If you try to run the 6th loop, obviously it is not going to work, right? Or there could be a possibility that it will give you something like uh, uh, like uh, index out of range error, right? So that is why what we are doing here is we are fixing that whatever is the possibility of the loops when we are taking the window, that only we are going to run, right? I guess the question, the query, the answers are clear. And let's move on to the next question. So the next question is library fine calculation. Now let's read the question what it says. So a library keeps tracks of books borrowed by students, right? Each element in an array represents the number of days a student kept a book. If a student is kept, if a book is kept more than k days, the student must pay 1 unit fine for each extra day. Find the total fine collected. I guess the question is pretty clear. What you have to do is they will be giving you an array, and in that array each number represents the number of days a student has kept a book, right? And you will be also given with k days. For example, there is one library who has fixed that okay, a student can keep a book only for 7 days. If he is keeping the book for 7 days after issuing, he has to pay the fine, right? So this k days can be varied, so that is why this will be given as an input, right? Now if there is any student, if there is anyone who is keeping that book for more than k days, he or she has to pay 1 unit fine per day for each extra day, right? For in the end, basically what you have to do is you have to find the total fine collected. Okay, you have to find the total fine collected. Now let's talk about the input format. So in the first line you will be having integer n represents the size of of an array. In second line you will be having n space separated integers, and in the third line you will be having integer k, which represents the k number of days they can keep the book. Okay, now once that is done, in output format you have to print the total fine. Okay, now once that is done, what we have to do is okay, now let's talk about the sample input one. Since sample input one, you can see n is given as 5, means the data will be given for 5 students, and in the next line we have an array of 5 elements where each number represents that for one student how many days he has kept the book, right? So for example, if we have 3, it means this particular kid, this particular student has kept the book for 3 days with him or her, whatever, right? For the first student, it is 8, so it means he or she has kept the book for 8 days. Then for second student, he or she has kept it for 6 days. Then third student kept it for 10 days, and then fourth student kept it for 4 days. And the maximum limit of days they have given you 5. It means if there is any student who kept the book for more than 5 days, for each day you have to add one as a fine, and you have to find the you have to calculate the total fine. Okay, so for the first student, because he has only kept it for 3 days, so there will be no fine. Now second student has kept it for 8 days. Is 8 minus 5, is my 8 greater than 5? Yes, it is. It means he has kept the book for longer time. Now we have to find that how much longer he has kept it for. So 8 minus 5 is 3, so we get the answer 3. It means for each day 1 rupee is a fine. So 3 into 1 means this student has need to pay 3 rupees or 3 unit of fine. Okay, if there is a difference, means if they say that there would be a 10 rupee fine or something like that, so in that case you have to multiply it with 10 or some number that is given to you. Okay, now for the second student, he has kept it for 6 days, and 6 is again greater than 5, so it means he has kept it extra. How many days he has kept extra? That is for 1 day, and fine will be 1 multiplied by 1, so total fine will be 1 for this student. Now for third student, he has kept the book extra for 5 days. Fine will be multiplied by 1. So total 5 unit extra fine will be given by him. right? Then for fourth student, again this fourth student is keeping it within the limit, so there is no extra day, so we can leave it. So now when we add all the numbers of the fine, what we get is as 9, right? So 9 will be the total fine that will be given by all of the students together. Okay, I hope this is clear. Just let me know if there is any doubt or something. Right. Okay, now let's move to this code then. So the code, in the code, what we are doing is we are taking the inputs. So in inputs we have n is equals to int input for integer number. Then for array we are taking it as list map int input dot split, and for k again we are taking it as int input. Okay, now once taken all the three inputs, what we have to do is we have to start our logic. Now in our logic what we have is fine is equals to 0. We are starting my fine variable as 0 because we are initializing it with 0 because we see that okay, for now there is no fine till now. Now we have to start traversing in our array, right? So for days in array, okay, so let's take this only. It's 3 6 3 8 6 10 and 4. So it's 3 8 6 10 and 4. Okay, now once this is done, we have to traverse it. So for the first loop, my days is going to be 3. Okay, now what we are doing is we are checking is my days greater than 5, which is k is 5 and n is also 5, right? Now is my 3 greater than 5? No, the condition is false. It means there will be no fine for this student. Now once that is done, we have to move to the second loop then. Now in second loop, my days is what? Days is 8. Is my 8 greater than 5? Yes, it is. So now what we have to do is we have to find the calculations, right? So find plus equals to days minus k. Now see what we are doing here is even we don't need to multiply it with 1 because it is just 1. So if the difference between 8 minus 5 is 3, so obviously 3 is going to be fine. But if there will be a fine of more than 1, right, means it could be 5 unit or 10 unit or any number of unit, you can do what? You can simply multiply that number to this particular subtraction. Okay, and whatever you will get will be added in your fine. I guess that is clear. And if you're not good with this, if you're not very like you don't know very advanced level of Python, and if you don't even understand this particular statement, so what you can do is you can create two variables. In first, you can find the difference or the fine, and in the second, you can add it in your fine variable. That's it. Okay, I guess that will be much easier for you. First, you can find the difference, and then you can add the values in your fine accordingly. Okay, so because 8 is greater than 5, so what we are going to do is in my fine, what we are going to add days minus k. So days is 8, 8 minus 5 is 3, and 3 is going to be added in my fine, right? So 3, because it was earlier 0, so now it will become 0 plus 3, which is 3. So now it becomes as 3. Now in third loop, days is what? Days is 6, right? Is my 6 greater than 5? Yes, 6 is greater than 5. So again, in my fine, what I'll be doing is 6 minus 5, which is 1, and 1 will be added in my previous fine. So previous fine is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4. So now it becomes 4. Now fourth loop, in fourth loop, days is equals to what? 10. Is my 10 greater than 5? Yes, the condition is true. Now because the condition is true, again we have to calculate fine. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 added in 4 makes it 9. So it becomes 9. Now we have fifth loop. In fifth loop, my days is equals to 4, right? Is my 4 greater than 5? No, it is not. So nothing is going to happen. And now for loop is completed. So nothing, everything is done. Now in the end, what you're printing the fine. So 9 as your fine will get printed as your answer. Okay. Why you are using map function? Could you explain it? Yeah, just give me 2 more minutes and I will be explaining it. Just let me know if there are any doubts in this particular question. Okay, so for the student who is asking for why we are using this map function, so what is going to happen is, see all the numbers, let me just explain you how this line works on a space separated input. So let's assume that we are given with an array, something like 3, 8, 6, 10, 4, something like this, right? So how Python makes it work? So first line that will be implementing is, that is input dot split. So I guess that is very clear that input dot split will take the input and it will split wherever the spaces are present. So you see all over wherever the spaces are there, they will be splitted. So you have your individual entities like 3, 8, 6, 10, and 4. Now what is going to happen? Now when you have defined int is going to convert all the individual entities into that data types. So now 3 is an integer number, 8 is an integer number, 6 is an integer number, 10 and 4 again are the integer numbers. Now once the data type is converted into integer format, now what you want is, you want to map them in a list of this particular variable array. So what this list function does, list function will convert everything that you have inside, will convert into a list format, right? Now but using this map function, what you are doing is, you are telling that you have to map these values in this particular array, in this particular variable, right? So now what is going to happen in your array variable, which is array, all the values, that is 3, 8, 6, 10, 4, are going to be in a list format, and all of them are going to map inside the array variable. Okay, and this is how it will be created. I guess that is clear now. It is going to convert all the data, all the values into that int data type. Okay. See, I have already told you guys many times that in TCS you you cannot expect the questions to be like, you cannot say that what exact questions can come. They can give you very easy questions as well, and they can give you hard level questions as well, right? But chances are more from easy to medium. So that is why whatever the questions that we are doing, either in the live sessions on YouTube or on the course, like for the live sessions for the students who has taken the course, for all of the students, the major focus for me is that students should be able to understand because right now it is not a time for students to get panic and see very hard level question, and they will think that okay, this is a question that I'll be not able to do, comes into a demotivation side, right? If there are students who are good with the basic concepts and they want to have the like upper questions or the advanced questions, in the course we are taking all the type of questions, as well as you can also practice it by yourself, right? Here major focus is that most of the questions will be related to these concepts or these topics or these levels, right? So we are taking accordingly, right? So I guess that is clear. Why we have to multiply it with 1? Because they have already told you na, see, every time when you are paying the fine, so there will be the amount of your fine na, maybe it could be 1 rupees or 10 rupees, maybe in your school library if you have a 7 days limit, and if you keep your book for more than 7 days without reissuing it, they take some a certain amount of fine na. So that is why here, because in the question it is written that you have to the student must pay 1 unit fine for each extra day. So that is why we are multiplying it with 1. Although we are not even multiplying it with 1, because obviously anything multiplied by 1 will make the same number, right? So whatever what we are doing is, we are simply finding the difference and we are adding in fine. Now, but for example, if they have told you that the fine is for 5 unit, so what you have to do is, whatever the difference you are getting, you have to multiply it with 5 and then you have to add in fine, right? I guess that is clear. Okay, just let me know if that is clear and we can move ahead to the next question. Okay, now let's move to the next question. The next question is bus passenger tracking. Okay, so the next question is bus passenger tracking, and this is a good question. So the problem statement is a bus travels through several stations, right? And at each station, some passengers get off and some passengers get on. Okay. Now you have to find the maximum number of passenger in the bus at any time. Okay. So they are asking you to know that what was the maximum number of passengers in the bus at any time. So there is no time fix that you have to tell that how many numbers of passengers are there at the last stop or maybe after the last stop. They're just asking you that what is the maximum number of passenger that was in the bus at any time of movement. Okay, now let's see how the input is being given. So first line will be integer n, which represents the number of stops. The next line will have next n lines contain two integers. Now in each line, see, they have already given you in next n lines, right? So for example, if there are 4 stops, so in the second line, from the second line, there you will be having 4 different lines, and in each line there will be 2 space separated integers. So the first, for example, if you have 2 3, so it means the 2 represents, for first stop there were 2 passengers who get off and 3 passengers who get on from the first station. Now, and the second stop or the second station, if the numbers are given as 2 0 and 4, so it means 0 passengers get off and 4 new passengers get on. Okay, so this is how this input is going to work, and in the end you have to print the maximum number of passengers in the bus. Okay, they are not asking you to get the number of passengers till the end or at the end or at any some point of the point, like at any some point. They're just asking you to get the maximum number of passengers you are getting in your bus at any time. Okay, so you see, you get your n is equals to 4 over here. It means there are 4 stops for this particular bus, and now you have 4 lines of input where each line represents station 1, get off and get on passenger numbers, right? So in first station there were 0 passengers who get off and there were 3 new passengers who get on, right? Now once that is done, so we can just do the explanation in a way that there are 0 passengers who get off, right? So there is nothing we need to subtract, or what you can do is you can have one variable called p where you will be adding and subtracting the values, right? And what you have to do is you have to consider one max variable where you will be storing the maximum value, right? So what happened is, because there were 0 passengers who get off, so 0 minus 0 will be 0, right? And 3 passengers get on, means 0 plus 3 makes it 3. So 3 passengers are now in your bus, right? Now once you got your first value after the first stop, you have to check if your maximum, what we will do is we will consider that maximum is 0. Now, if any value that is coming more than 0 will be considered as maximum. Okay. So, is my 3, which is the current number of passengers, greater than maximum? Yes, it is. So, we can assume that maximum passengers are 3 for now. Okay. Now, in second loop, when we have the new station, new stop, that is 2 and 5, where 2 passengers get off, means 3 minus 2 makes it 1. So, it becomes 1, and 1 plus 5 makes it 6, right? So, now there are 6 passengers in the bus after this second stop. Again, we have to go and we have to check, is my maximum can be updated? Yes, maximum can be updated because now we have 6 passengers. Earlier, we have 3 passengers. So, 6 is greater. So, we have 6 over here. Now in next we have is 4 and 2. So means 4 passengers get off. So 6 are still there. 6 minus 4 is 2, right? And 2 more added, right? So 2 plus 2 makes it 4. So now there are 4 passengers. Again, is the 6 greater, say, is my current number of passenger 4 greater than the maximum that I had? No, it is not, right? So we will keep the maximum as 6 only. Now the next is 4 and 0. So it means 4 people get off. So 4 were already there and 4 of them get off. So now there is 0. And because this is the last stop, so no one entered the bus. So basically now we have passenger count as 0. right? So again, we have to check, is my passenger count is greater than max? No, it is not. So maximum will remain 6. So in the end, what was the maximum number of passengers that were in the bus at any time? That was 6, right? So this was the answer. I hope the question is clear. Okay, now let's see how the question, how the code can be written for this thing. Okay, so basically there will be, basically the main thing is you have to take the input accordingly, right? So what you're doing is, first is n is equals to int input, so 4 will be given here, right? Now what you did is you initialize two variables, just like I said, where you will be calculating the current number of passengers, and you will be calculating the maximum passengers at that time, right? So current you have initialized with 0, and maximum passengers also you have initialized with 0, right? Now once that is done, what you are doing is, for I in range n, because there are 4 lines of input that you will be getting. So what we are going to do is, we are going to take the first line of input and we are going to apply the logic on that line only directly. Then we'll move to, when we'll have the second loop, in second loop we will be taking second line of input and we will be working on that, then third line of input, and then we will be working on that, and so on. Now the second approach could be also like this, that you take all the inputs together, and maybe you can create a list, right? So what you can do is, you can also take all the 4 inputs together, right? So what it would be like, it would be, you will be creating an empty list, and the values that you are having, 0, 3, they will be appended in a format of tuple like this, 0, 3. Then you will be having what? You're having 2 comma 5, so 2 comma 5. Then second element will be what? Sorry, third element will be what? 4 comma 2, so 4 comma 2. Then you have 4 comma 0, right? So this is how also you can create one list, and once you have taken all the inputs, now you can start working on it again. Okay, so these are the two different approaches. You can do both of them, like out of the both. Okay, so right now what we are doing is, we are taking input at the time and we are just doing our calculations, and then we are moving to second input. So you see, what we are doing is, for I in range n, so it will be up till 0 comma 4, so it will be 0 to 2, 0 to 3. So in first loop, my I value will be 0. Now first we need to take the inputs. So off and on, two variables we have taken, right? And because again, input dot split, because the value will be of two numbers, and both the numbers should get in two different variables. So 0 and 3 are there. So 0 and 3, both of them will be splitted into two entities, 0 and 3. Both of them are going to be converted into integer format, and now we are storing them in the variables. So we were having 0 and 3. So in off variable, 0 is going to be added, and in on variable, 3 is going to be stored. Okay, now once that is done, we have to do the same thing. From current, we will subtract all the off values and we will add all the on values. So current minus off and current plus equals to on, right? So right now my current is 0. Now when I subtract off, which is 0 minus 0, it will be 0 only. When I add on, so on is 3, so 0 plus 3 makes it 3, so my current will become 3. Now once that is done, every time when we will be having, once we do the whole thing, we have to check the maximum passenger. So maximum passenger will be maximum of current maximum passenger value, which is 0, and the current value that we got just now, which is 3. So out of 0 and 3, which is maximum? So 3 is maximum, 3 is maximum. So in my max variable, I will be storing 3. Okay, now same thing we have to do for second loop. I is equals to 1. In I is equals to 1, again we have to take the second input line. So second line is what? 2 and 5. So again, in off, 2 is going to be stored, and in on, 5 is going to be stored. Okay, now once that is done, again from your current you have to subtract off. So 3 minus 2 makes it 1, and 1 plus 5 makes it 6. So now you have is 6. Now once that is done, again you have to calculate your max passenger. So maximum of current, which is 3, and the maximum of sorry, maximum of the previous max value and the current value which you are getting, that is 6. So 3 comma 6, maximum is 6. So maximum will be updated to 6. Now in third loop you have I is equals to 2. Again the numbers are what? Off will be 4 and on will be 2, right? Now again once you have it, again you will have to calculate your current. So from 6 you have to off 4, means now it becomes 2, and in 2 you have to add 2, so it becomes 4. So now you have 4 passengers. Now again you have to compare it with maximum, and you have to get the maximum value out of 6 and 4. So because 6 is maximum, so it will be 6 only. Now in fourth loop you have I is equals to 3, where you have off value as 4 and on value as 0, right? Again from your current, 4 minus 4, which makes it 0, 0 plus 0 will make it 0. Okay, now again maximum out of 6 and 0. So obviously 6 is greater, so max will have 6 only. Now fifth loop will not be there, right? Because there is nothing over there. So everything is done. Now because everything is done, we'll come out of the for loop and we'll print max passengers. So what is the answer that will get printed? That is 6. Okay. Okay, I guess the way I explained just now also is clear. Isn't the code clear? Just let me know if there are any doubts. If there are any doubts, any queries, you guys can ask. Yeah, okay, it's clear. So I guess for today let's keep it this much, and in the end I just want you guys to I want you to tell one thing, that we have our course which is TCS crash course, right? And you will be having it over here. Through this link you can go and check out that course. In that course you will be having multiple things, right? You will be getting your DSA white book, which is very important and which will be very helpful if you want to do good practice in the questions, right? Then you have your recorded lectures, you have your live sessions weekly, you have for all the type of lectures, either it is aptitude, verbal, coding. In coding also you get your Java, Python, C++. All type of sessions are taken in the course. Also in this white book there are all the topics that usually comes, like arrays, strings, sliding window approaches, and all the topics that we can expect to come, right? So this is also a nice book where you have the questions, where you have the coding solutions in each language, right? So if you are interested to go through it, you can definitely go and check it out. Input in map, explain again. Okay, I'll explain it. Um, Karnati, can you tell me one thing, for which problem you are telling to take the input of this one? Okay. See why we use that map function. I guess students, there were your like students also who have already explained in the chat box, in the chat, that why the map function is used. It is used to like, as I explained, this input dot split is going to do what? It is going to split all the values that you have wherever the spaces are present, right? So for example, if you have an array, or let's say let's try to understand this only. So input dot split, so you have two numbers, right? If you see in any of the lines, there are two numbers, 2 and 5, separated by a space. So you have 2 space 5, this underscore represents underscore, like the space, right? So what you have to do is, if you want to split it, so first of all, what is going to happen, input, whatever the input you have taken, it is going to be splitted. So now you have two different entities, 2 and 5. Earlier it was considered as to be 1, right? Now once that is done, you want these to be converted into an integer format, right? So what you have to do is, you have to mention it over here that you want it in the integer format. Now this map function, this map is a function, no, and in your function you're passing two parameters. One is the input that you're talking about, and the second is the data type, right? So whatever the input that you have, that is 2 and 5, the two different entities, they are going to map with the same data type, that is integer, that you have written, right? So it is basically that you are having two things, 2 and 5, and now you have defined that they are the numbers, they are the integers, and that is why the map function is used. Okay, I guess that is clear. Okay, Karnati, you were asking me to take the input of these things. So see, it is very similar to the one where we take the space separated input of array, right? In array, what we used to do is, if I want to take an array space separated input, we write it like list map, then we define that what data type we want, and then we do input dot split, right? This is what we do. This is what we do. So what it does is, it splits the input, it maps all the inputs in an integer data type, or the data type you want, and then whatever the values you're having, let's say you have 1, 2, 3, right? So all the numbers, all the three numbers are splitted, all of them are considered to be numbers, because you have mentioned that they are of integer data type, right? So 1 will be in int, 2 will be in int, 3 will be in int. Now once you have all the three numbers, what you want is, you want to convert all of them into a list format. So what is going to happen, you will be creating one list which will be having all the values 1, 2 and 3 in a list, and that is all going to be stored in your variable, that is add, right? Now when you want to, so this is a list input, right? Now in the same way, if you want to take the input of two numbers in two different variables, so in that case what you have to do is, you have to use two different variable names. So let's say I want to store it in a comma b. So what is going to happen, I have to write a comma b, then now I don't want in a list format, so you can remove that list function and you can directly start with map function. And now the function, the logic will be same. It will be going to split the answer, split your input. So if 4 and 2 is the input, it is going to be splitted. Okay, so I'm just writing it in a short form, that you have input dot split, right? And here you have mentioned your int, right? So what is going to happen in input dot split, it is going to be splitted into two different entities, and now using both the numbers, both the entities should be in int, so you mapped them with int data type. Once you have mapped them with int data type, now they are the two numbers, that is 4 and 2, and because you have defined two variables over here, so what is going to happen, a is going to store 4 and 2, b is going to store 2. Okay, so this is how it is working. Same way, if you see here, we are doing the same thing. We are taking two variables off and on, and now what we are doing is map int input dot split. So first your input is going to be splitted, then you are going to uh, map all your values in an integer data type, and whatever the values are now you are getting, all of them are going to assign to each of the variables accordingly, right? Yes, there will be very low chances that you get questions related to linked list. But why stack and queue can be useful for you? Because there could be a question where you will be using stack or queue, right? So understanding that how it works and how you can actually implement stack and queue in Python, that can be helpful for you to know, right? Linked list, yes, there will be very less chances for linked list questions. See, if you are getting good practice on see, generally for the students who are very new and who doesn't know a lot about coding, and they are not into very much into like hands-on coding experiences, for you guys the best is you have your proper knowledge and proper practice on array, string, then number questions, right? The questions like to check the prime numbers, or to check if the year is a leap year or not, Fibonacci series, factorials, right? These type of number questions, number topics questions I'm talking about, right? Then array based questions, again easy to medium. You cannot rely on only easy questions. You have to go from easy to medium questions, and then strings, right? If you are doing this, it is like for now, because we don't have a lot of time. If you want to go to the upper levels of DSA topics, you need time in your hand, and because of that constraint, you can at least, for the students who are new to code, I'm again telling you this thing, if you are new to code and you are not very good in coding, you have to at least uh, have a good practice on these three things, right? Okay, so I guess, yeah, let's keep it this much. I have covered, I guess, almost all of the queries for now. Okay, let's keep it this much. I hope this session helped you a lot to understand the questions, to understand how to write the codes, and to have all the queries solved that you are having, right? And let's keep it this much. Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll meet in the next session. Till then, keep learning, keep